Hi class, my name is Professor Emily Cochran and I will be your instructor for this Foundations of Christian Theology class for Concordia Irvine, specifically for the nursing program. This is a 7-week intensive course, so as that name kind of implies, the work can get quite heavy at times, especially the reading and writing requirements for that matter. So do please keep track of due dates and submission deadlines and that sort of thing. You can do that under the course schedule link on the left-hand side of the classroom website. Let's just go through at first what you're going to need. First, you're going to need a English Bible, but a English Standard Bible is the preferred translation, but it's not the required translation. It's just strongly preferred. It's not as if another version isn't going to get you through the class. There just might be some textual nuances that you might find difficult or contradictory with another translation. But if you have another translation, it honestly should be fine. Secondly, you'll need Called to Believe, edited by Stephen Mueller, which gives a good overview of Christian theology. Thirdly, you will need that Case for Christ book by Lee Strobel. This work is really interesting because it's not what you might expect, like a professor starting out with, hey, Christianity is true and this is why you should believe it too, but rather Strobel being an investigative journalist and a skeptic about Christianity in general. He has a unique perspective because he investigated it based on his wife's conversion. So he does a very evidence-based exploration into Christianity in general. As for course requirements, most of the weeks are pretty standard and pretty consistent in terms of the workload and the requirements. The exception is week 7. So you can visit the course schedule for the differences in submission deadlines and assignments for that week. Please do look at the syllabus and the course schedule. Again, like I said, under the modules on Canvas, do click the Start Here module and examine each line item there. Essentially, every week except for week 7, you're going to have to, 1, do the readings, obviously, and watch the videos for both the Called to Believe text and for Strobel. You will have to number 2, complete your discussion board requirements, and that consists of posting an original thread by Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. and then responding to a classmate's thread, at least one classmate's thread, by Friday at 11:59 p.m. Keep in mind, this is the minimum requirement. Number 3, you will have to submit a theology essay. 4, you will submit a Foundations reflection based on Strobel. The theology essay is more based on Mueller. The Foundations reflection is more based on Strobel's work. Number 5, a reading quiz just over the content for the week. Those will open on Fridays at 12:01 a.m. They will close on Sundays at 11:59 p.m. So you do have those days to complete it each week. Once you attempt it, you have to sit down or stand up, it doesn't matter, but you do have to complete it in that sitting or standing, I suppose. And number 6, an honor system quiz that just tells me how much of the readings you completed for that week. A particular word on the theology essay. These are objective essays, that is more academic in nature, I suppose, unless it says specifically in the prompt to write about your personal feelings or your personal experience. Do please keep these essays in third person to maximize objectivity. With all of these assignments, things like theology essay, your reflection, your discussion board requirements, etc., do use proper grammar, good syntax, etc., proper punctuation, all of that sort of stuff. Any and all academic dishonesty, all academic dishonesty, including generative AI use, copying outside content to pass off as your own, etc. These things are not tolerated and will result in a failure of the course. Do please take a moment to go to the Introduce Yourself topic under the discussions on the Start Here module, but it should also be listed under the discussions module, as well as the Ask Your Instructor topic. Please do introduce yourself to the class on the discussion board so we can get to know each other a little bit better. My apologies. A little person came in and I had to ask him to excuse himself. All right, one more thing before I wrap up. And that is the AI usage policy. Now, I did touch on how AI usage, that is generative AI usage to compose your essays or your discussion board content, is strictly not allowed. Now, I know that AI is everywhere. I know everybody's doing it, I guess. Some forms of AI have been very useful, have proved very useful. Even something as basic as spell check and search engines and predictive text sometimes are all forms of AI or utilize AI. But when it comes to writing and composing essays, or simply just stringing your thoughts together into sentences, that is something that outsourcing to AI is a bridge too far. And it doesn't seem like it, I know. But using these large language models for generative AI, such as ChatGPT and other services, in order to write your essays will result in a failing grade for the course. I know that it's often very hard to detect, very hard to keep track of, but I want your conscience at least to convict you to write these essays yourself. If you can get into nursing school and withstand the pressures of patient care in all sorts of settings, but especially a hospital setting, I have every confidence that you can write a 750 to 800 word essay. Because quite frankly, if you can't write a sentence, it reflects a hindered ability to think clearly. And that might seem extreme, and it might seem like it's a minuscule thing. This is, after all, a required theology course at a school that you're here primarily for its nursing program. I mean, I get it. But AI usage with these sorts of assignments is really just, to use the phrase, the camel's nose kind of poking into the tent. It might start here with these sorts of assignments, but surely, for your mind at least, it's not going to end there. For example, I mean, I know enough of you have worked in the healthcare settings, and I have had enough children to spend a decent amount of time in the hospital, okay? Life or death decisions are going to rest in your hands fairly soon. If your brain is not exercised and being aligned enough to think clearly, ultimately, your decision-making skills will not be as sharp. And I know that just seems extreme, and it seems like me kind of pontificating here, but I want to do my best at least to stress how AI usage, when it comes to taking something unique as writing composition and organizing one's own thoughts, outsourcing that to AI will ultimately be a detriment, I think, to our collective mindset and our collective intellect as well. So that's my soapbox. Students do need to keep track of any notes, rough drafts of their papers, outlines, etc., so that if I ask you about your writing process or ask to discuss content of a paper with you, you have that sort of thing ready to present to me. I understand that stuff is getting so advanced that it's going to be harder to detect. I understand that it is going to be more tempting to use. But if you say, or if you believe that you don't have time to compose essays for this sort of a class, you don't have time to be at this school. And I know that might sound harsh, but that is my class policy. So again, I don't mean to sound harsh. I don't mean to sound heartless or anything like that. And I might be making a mountain out of a molehill. I'm just observing in general what's happening to higher education these days and wanted to take the opportunity to stress the importance of composing your own essays and being able to write and think clearly, even if it's for a required course or a required theology course at the Lutheran University that you've chosen to attend for nursing school primarily. If you're at the point where you're really rusty in your writing, or you feel like you might need some assistance, or it's been a while since you've really sat down to write your own paper, I'm also available to help with those things. I really would love to, actually, if students are struggling a little bit in that regard. So do let me know if that is the case. I would be more than happy to help compose things. I might be blowing this out of proportion. Some of you guys might be saying, why on earth would I use AI and risk my place in nursing school? Some of you might say, okay, I did it maybe once or twice when I was in a pinch, but I don't make a habit of it. Some of you might be saying, I didn't know you could do that. Okay. Well, I don't mean to pontificate on something disproportionately here, but I do want to make the policy absolutely clear and why it is what it is. Be sure to cite Mueller and Strobel in your book, in your essays, so that I can tell that you are in fact reading and that you are in fact digesting the material. And again, if there's any questions on the writing process or how to analyze the material, or if you're even having trouble understanding the material, because some of it can kind of seem like drinking out of a fire hose, let me know and I'd be happy to work through that with you. So anyway, that's it for this video, and if you have any questions, be sure to let me know.